All right, hi guys. I am going to go over the solutions for Module 6 review. So this is going to cover Module 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. So these are practicing writing our equations of lines in all three forms. And we'll start with 6.1, which is writing our equations in slope-intercept form. So these first couple, we're going to look at these graphs and write our equation for each line. So what I want to do is first find my y-intercept. So here, my y-intercept, or my b value, is going to be 3. And my slope, or m, well, I can just count that. So I'm going to find another point on this line right here. And my slope is down 1 over 2. So 1 over 2. But careful, this slope is negative. So this is a negative 1/2. So I can write my line as y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. All right. Next one, first let's find our y-intercept again. So here it is positive 2. So that's my b value. My slope, well, again, I want to find another point on my line. Let's find the slope between these 2 points. Okay, so if I count again, I'm going to go rise over run. So I'm up 2 and over 1. So here my slope is 2 over 1, or 2. And again, this is a negative slope, so this is negative 2. Okay, so here our equation is going to be y equals negative 2x plus 2. Just like that. Okay, this one down here, right off the bat, I can see this is going to be a positive slope. And my y-intercept here is 1. And my m value, my slope, let's see, I have a point here and here. And my slope is going to be up 1 over 3. So my slope is 1/3. Writing my equation, I've got y equals mx, so 1/3 x plus b, so plus 1. Okay, and last graph. So again, find y-intercept. It's all the way down here at negative 5. So my b value is negative 5. My slope, well, moving from this point to this point, I count up 1, 2, and over 1. This slope is positive, so my slope is 2 over 1, or just 2. Okay, so let's write our equation. Y equals 2x, and then since my y-intercept is negative, I should write subtract 5, just like that. All right, so now that we've practiced with our graphs, now we're going to be given some different information. Here, we just have the words slope and y-intercept, so same information is just not on a graph. So if my slope is 3, that's my m value, and my y-intercept is 3, that's my b value. So again, write your equation, y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b, just like that. All right, next one's just like this, but different slope and y-intercept. So here, my slope is negative 8/3 x, and then my y-intercept is negative 5, so subtract 5. All right, and last two. This one I'm given a point, so this is going to take a few more steps. I know that this line goes through this point and has a slope of 5/4. So I'm going to label these as my x value, my y value, and this is my m. Okay, so just like before, I'm going to write my equation with everything that I know. So normally it's y equals mx plus b, but I'm going to use all of these values. So first starting with y, that's negative 5 equals m 5/4 times x negative 4 plus, and then guess what? I don't have a b, so I'm just going to write plus b. That's the only value we don't know, so we're going to solve for b. All right, so this multiplication right here, I have a 4 and a 4. One's in the numerator, one's in the denominator. So these are going to cancel, and all I have left here is a negative 1 because of this negative right here. So this is 5 times negative 1. So I'm going to write everything I have now. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, and then I still have this plus b. All right, so again, solving for b, I'm going to add 5, make sure you do it to both sides of the equation, and b equals, well, negative 5 plus 5 is going to give me 0. So this one actually has a y-intercept of 0. So finalizing my answer, I've got y equals, don't forget your slope was 5/4, x, and then we don't have our y-intercept is 0. So we're done. Okay, so this one took a few steps. We had to solve for b first, then we wrote our equation. All right, so let's try that one more time with this problem next door. We're now going through the point 1, 4. So again, this is my x, my y, and this is my m value. So let's substitute these into our equation. My y value, 4, equals slope 1 times x, which is 1 in this situation, plus b. So again, we're solving for b. All right, so 1 times 1 is 1. So this is just 4 equals 1 plus b. And we need to subtract 1 from both sides of the equation. So I've got b equals 3. All right, so we're ready to write our equation. Y equals, our slope was 1. You guys can write 1x or just x. I'm just going to write x. And then we've got plus 3, because that's our y-intercept. So that's our equation right here. Okay. As we move on, we're going to go to module 6.2. So 6.2 is writing equations for lines, but in point-slope formula, or form. So that means that in our formula, we're going to have a point, and we're going to have slope. So let's find those on these graphs. Let's find our point. So we can use this one on the intercept. I'm going to find one that's not on an axis. So that's this point right here, which is over 5 and up 4. So now I've got a point on this line. I also can find my slope. So let's find another point on the line and let's count our slope rise over run. So 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be our slope. Okay, we're ready to write our equation. So I've got y minus our y value, which is 4, equals our slope, 3/5, times, and then in parentheses, x minus our x value, which is 5. Leave it like that, and you have written it in point-slope form. All right, on this graph, again, let's find a point. I can see one right here, and this is the point -4, 3. So I'm going to write that over here, -4, 3. And then let's find our slope. So I found another point right here, and I'm going to count rise over run. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our slope here is 3/4. Okay, so let's get into writing our equation. We've got y minus our y value equals our slope, 3/4, times x minus the x value. Now careful here, this is x minus -4. So I'm going to write this above. X minus -4 is the same as x plus 4. So that's what I'm going to write in my parentheses, just like this. All right. Now we're going to move on without graphs. So these first couple, we're just given a point and a slope, so you should just go straight into writing your formula. We've got our point here and our slope, so we're going to write y minus -4, so that's really y plus 4. Write your slope, 5/3, and then in parentheses, you're going to have x minus -3, so that's really x plus 3. Careful with those negatives. All right, next one. Slope is 4. Our point is -2, -3. So again, let's write our formula. Y minus -3, so that's y plus 3, equals our slope, 4, and then in parentheses, x minus -2, so that's x plus 2. Just like that. Next couple, we are not just given the slope and a point, we are given 2 points. So we got to find the slope. That's one extra step. Then we can write our equation. So let's find the slope here. Don't forget, slope is the change in y, so y2 minus y1, over the change in x, x2 minus x1. That's just rise over run. So let's find what the slope is for this example. We've got 2 minus 5, and then we've got -2 minus 0. Okay, 2 minus 5 is -3, and -2 minus 0 is just -2. Hey, guess what? The numerator and the denominator are negative, so this is a positive fraction. So my slope is 3 over 2. All right, now we can write our equation. Go ahead and pick any point you want. I'm going to pick this one right here to write my equation. So y minus 2, because that's my y value, equals, write your slope, 3/2, and then in parentheses, you're going to write x, but now it's going to be plus 2 because that's a negative number. Just like that. Okay. Last one. Now this is an equation already, but we're going to write it in point-slope form. So what I want to do is I want to do some algebra so that the only thing on the left side of the equation is y and a number, and on the right side I'm going to have 2 times something in parentheses if I can. Okay, so the first step I want to see is I don't want 3y, I just want y. I also notice that 3 and 6 have common factors. So I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor, which is 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3, but if I do it to one side of the equation, I have to do it to the other side of the equation. So on the left side, well, 3y divided by 3 is just y. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. And on the right side of the equation, I now have negative 2x divided by 3. I can also write that as negative 2/3 x. So I'm just writing the fraction first and then x. Now, I don't have any number being added or subtracted, so you can leave it like this, or you can put it in parentheses and just put a 0 there. So I would accept either. Okay. Last section is 6.3, which is writing our equations in standard form. So first couple examples, we have 2 points. So that means I need to write my equation in some other form and then put it into standard form, okay? So what I want to do here is, well, right off the bat, I know I need slope because point slope and slope-intercept form use it. So let's find slope first. So let's find the change in y. That's 2 minus 0 divided by the change in x, negative 5 minus 0. So that makes my slope 2 over negative 5, or negative 2/5. Either is fine. All right. What I want to do now is, since I have a point and I have a slope, I also have a y-intercept, I'm going to write an equation in either point slope or y-intercept, slope-intercept. Let's do slope-intercept. Why not? So I'm going to write it in the form y equals mx plus b. Well, here's my m and here's my b. That's my y-intercept. So y equals negative 2/5 x plus 0. You don't have to write the plus 0 if you don't want. Okay, but now what I want is the y value and the x value both on the left side of the equation, and a number, if possible, on the right side of the equation. Okay, so I'm going to add 2/5 x to both sides of the equation. So I've got 2/5 x plus y equals 0. However, usually when we write standard form, we're going to have whole numbers and no fractions. So if I want to get rid of a fraction, remember, if I don't want that denominator, I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to multiply everything by 5. All right, so here the 5s are going to cancel. I've got 2x. 5 times y is 5y, and then this is just 0. Okay, a little funky, but that is standard form. Next one, again, we've got 2 points. So let's find the slope. Slope is 4 minus 5 all over 5 plus 4, because we were subtracting a negative 4. And that's negative 1 over 9. All right, and again, we've got a point and we've got slope. Let's write it in point slope this time. So let's write y minus 4, I'm using this point, equals negative 1/9 x minus 5. Okay. All right, I don't want these parentheses because remember I'm writing in standard form. So let's instead distribute this and so that I can get it into standard form. So I've got y minus 4 equals negative 1/9 x plus 5/9 because I multiplied a negative and a negative. All right, I'm still not quite in standard form yet. I need all my numbers on the right side, any constants. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I've got y equals, and let's also add 1/9 x. I'm going to kind of do 2 steps in one. So I'm going to cross that out. I've got 1/9 x plus y, so that's on the left side of the equation. And on the right side of the equation, I have 5/9 plus 4. Now we need to add 2 fractions together. I'm going to do that above real quick. So I'm adding 5/9 plus, and then I need to write 4, but I need to write it with a denominator of 9. So I'm going to multiply 4 and 9. That's going to give me 36/9, and then add these 2 together. So when I add those, that's going to give me 41/9, and that's okay. Just leave it as a fraction for now. Then again, just to be a little more precise, I want this to be a whole number. I don't want it to be a fraction. So I'm going to multiply everything by that denominator, by 9. So here, the 9 and the 9 are going to cancel. I just have x left. Then I have a 9y. And then over here, the 9s also cancel. So I just have 41. All right. Then these next ones, they're already written as an equation, but what we're going to do is do a little bit of algebra so that it's in standard form. So I noticed that my x is on the right side. I would like it to be on the left side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. And I've got negative x minus 5y equals negative 15. Now some people would multiply through by -1 so that both of these are positive, but I'm just going to leave it like that. And then last step, well, look at here. We have the y term, the x term on the left, and then I have my constant on the right. This is almost already in standard form. I'm just instead going to switch the order of these 2 terms. So I'm going to write 6x minus 10y equals 10. So just remember your x value first, then your y term. All right, last problems, guys. We're going to write these equations in standard form, but given a graph. So this one, well, this one is going to be really short. So I already know a vertical line has the equation x equals, because anywhere on this line, the x value is always -4. So this has the form x equals -4. Now you could write it as x plus 0y equals -4 since we don't have a y term, but I would take either. Either would be in standard form. Okay, and then last one. Well, remember in standard form, we usually start with some other form and then convert it to standard. So let's find an easy way to write this equation. Well, I have a y-intercept that's -2, and I have a slope of 1/2, but it's negative. All right, so let's write an equation that we know how to write. So y equals mx, 1/2 x, plus b, so -2. And then let's rewrite this so that my x and my y terms are on the left side. So let's add 1/2 x. So I've got 1/2 x plus y equals -2. But then again, remember, I like to have not a fraction as a coefficient. So we're going to multiply through by 2. Make sure you multiply everything by 2. So the 2's and the 2's are going to cancel here. I have x plus 2y because I multiplied. And then I need to also multiply this side by 2. So this is going to be -4. Now you have written that in standard form. All right, thanks guys for watching. Make sure you guys are ready to take a Module 6 quiz, and this will also be on our Unit 3 test.